How's it going, everyone? My name is Muneer Mirza. I'm Vice President at Oracle Product Management, and I represent the Oracle Database at Azure partnership. I'm excited to be at my first Microsoft Ignite conference and to bring to you all of the things that we've been working together on for the past 2 or more years. Let's dig in. My talk today begins with just a very basic overview of what actually Oracle Database at Azure is, followed a little bit by why you should care, both as an IT professional, as a decision maker, or as a DBA. I offer a customer example. I wrap up with a little bit of AI and how we think about the future. Let's get in. So why did we start this thing? One of the things that I'm super proud of working at Oracle about is over 5 decades of experience serving customers with their database solutions. We've got a plethora of different use cases under our belts, and customers know to come to us when they have very, very deep questions about how they should think about designing their databases and how they should think about enabling their applications with data super effectively in the future. With that, we have over 5 million registered customers and partners as part of our community. And over 95% of the Fortune 100, as of 2024, relies on Oracle databases for their enterprises. Our performance is the underpinning backbone for all of this. Now, that's what makes sense from the Oracle perspective. What about the Azure perspective? Well, it begins with just massive global reach, over 70 regions that Azure is serving customers effectively today, over 200 different services. And similar to us, in fact, significant adoption within the Fortune 500. Businesses of all sizes are relying on Azure today for bringing their ideas to life. These customers trust Azure to be able to innovate and to work effectively through all of the different lines of businesses that they have. So customers told us this made a ton of sense to work on together to make sure that we understood, hey, this is how this partnership can leverage one another. Customers, of course, would come to us with our autonomous AI databases. They trust us for fast performance. They trust us for maximum availability architectures. They expect the versatility of the Oracle solutions, both from applications and from the databases. And underlying all of that is the security that customers have expected as built in as part of our offerings. But then when you couple that with all the neat things that Azure has been building over the years, very, very compelling virtual machine services and Kubernetes for containers, just as examples. The ability to inspect what's happening within your enterprise applications and within your infrastructure, whether it's cloud infrastructure or the apps that you're actually hosting in Azure itself. Customers have come to trust Azure for things like Entra ID, for securing access for their users to the apps and to the data that they're trying to access. And of course, with actually managing those applications and the databases using Azure Key Vault for secure key encryption. Now, then when you think about not just how you build and present the applications, but how your users actually consume the applications, from an AI perspective, you're going to rely on things like AI Foundry to be able to have those agents operate on your behalf, both securely and really effectively. And of course, you're going to be relying on Copilot to deliver you insights and very, very valuable pieces of information. Now, our job is to make those things work seamlessly together. The data that you would trust from Oracle, plus all the ability to build killer applications using Azure. Now, when we thought about this partnership, one of the most important things that we aimed to deliver was seamlessness. So it started with the Azure portal itself. Now, take a look here at a mock screenshot. I'm sure this thing, by the time you're seeing this, is probably already out of date. Specifically, if you look down the left-hand side, you'll see a lot of the capabilities that we've lit up together. Now, the neat thing is, again, you're going to get to start your journey in a place that feels familiar to you. Whether you're an IT professional or whether you're a DBA, this is where you go in and get started. And if Azure is your cloud of choice, then this is exactly how we want you to feel. We want it to feel familiar, both in terms of the user experience, but also the APIs that you're calling. Now, at the end of the month, when you take a look at how you're actually being billed and metered for this thing, we wanted that to be as seamless as possible as well. And so what you're seeing here, albeit it's a sample invoice, it's an actual Microsoft style invoice that you will get as a part of this partnership, regardless of whether you've got a pay-as-you-go offer, a public offer, or whether you're using a private offer. The intent very clearly is to make it clear to the end customer that this is inherently an Azure product. So you start your journey in the console as you normally would, and your month ends with the bill that you would typically see. No changes, no difference. We are looking to seamlessly integrate within the processes that you've already established for how you're managing your Azure relationship. And from the Oracle side, one of the neat things that we hear over and over from customers is we want more of the same, more of the things that we've learned to trust from Oracle, like our Exadata hardware. This is very, very purpose-built for Oracle databases, both from hardware and from a networking perspective. We optimize how the transactions in the database happen, and we optimize how traffic flows through the network to give you the best possible performance that you could ever get. Now, the nice thing about this also that we sought to achieve through this partnership was continuing with that theme of seamlessness or familiarity, the idea that you could run this on-prem, that you run this with Cloud at Customer, or that you run it in the public cloud of choice. In this case, as you're hearing about today, in Azure. Now, this is one of the things that I absolutely, absolutely love showing. It shows a list of capabilities that we've tirelessly worked on with our colleagues at Azure to enable for our end customers. And you're not going to find a more complete list than this outside of OCI. I'm very, very proud to say that we've worked through the majority of our database offerings. We've enabled them in a number of regions, and they will be available everywhere. The one remaining thing, our autonomous database on dedicated hardware, is going to be coming out a little later. So stay tuned and be in touch with either your Azure or your Microsoft sales rep to figure out when and how to apply it for your use case or for your workload specifically. But then if you look at this Azure colored view of the world, this is one of the things I'm super proud of saying. Remember a few slides ago, I talked about being available in over 70 regions. Well, our goal has to be in as many as we possibly can to fulfill demand from our customers. And in just this short period of time that we've enabled this partnership, we've already either launched in 28 regions as of today. I guarantee you that that number is going to be out of date by the time you read this or by the time you see this presentation, with our end goal of being in 33 sites in just a few months here by approximately the early parts of 2026 calendar year. I'm excited to say that we have a very complete world coverage, and our goal, as much as possible, is to bring your workloads as close to your end users as is physically possible. Region expansion is the only way to go about doing that, and I'm very proud that this slide is highlighting just the breadth and the depth of all the places across the world that we're delivered this solution today. Now, let's get into a little bit about why you should care. It starts, of course, with price, right? Now, what customers ask me all the time is like, yeah, but can't I run this on, some sort of infrastructure as a service, like bring your own license or other ways of actually delivering Oracle databases to my applications and for my end users? Well, yeah, you can. We call that an authorized cloud environment. But as I mentioned, it starts with price. What we're hearing through the Oracle Database at Azure partnership from our customers, from you all directly, is that you're saving up to 50% of the database licenses that you may have previously used. And overall, on our consumption models, our OCPU or eCPU consumption model, that customers are saving up to 2.5 to 2.6 times what they were spending previously on-prem. That is a meaningful difference to go back to your procurement and your finance teams to say, hey, this partnership is going to save us dollars. But not only is it going to save us dollars, you're going to be able to modernize the infrastructure, you're going to be able to modernize the network, and you get to rely on Oracle and Microsoft Azure together to be able to optimize for performance. What we're hearing from customers and just on IOPS, some of them seeing up to 16 and a half times better IOPS throughput versus running these databases themselves. And then lastly, as far as capabilities go, we offer the full gamut that you would expect. It's not to say that, oh, well, this is running in the cloud and some things are turned on and some things aren't turned on. We are working as tirelessly as we possibly can to make sure that you get access to the full set of Oracle features through this partnership. Now, we know we have work to do. We know we have a lot of opportunities still with you to meet you for the things that you've been running on-prem for a number of years. Cool. We are dedicated, and you hearing it here from me today. My commitment to you is that you're going to be able to get and use all of those features as you would expect over time. So let's go into a little bit of a real life example. Now, typically what I do is show some sort of like very, very basic, very simple architecture, and this is that. But I do want to highlight a few really, really critical things. This isn't just a vanilla Oracle running on Microsoft infrastructure. Instead, this is showing what we call the maximum availability architecture. The idea that you can achieve high availability striped across multiple different availability zones in a region. Now let's have a look at this a little bit concretely, right? So in the larger blue box towards the left of the diagram, you're going to see everything that's actually running in an Azure region. It starts with the service, the DNS services that you're familiar with in Azure so that your users can hit your application. It continues with the load balancing and the virtual network or the VNet that you have set up in your Azure network. It continues with where your application's hosted. In this case, in this example, we have a customer who's using Azure Kubernetes services. And they're storing those containers in Azure's container registry. So these are the things, again, we talked about seamlessness, we talked about familiarity. These are the things that we've done to make sure that we've stayed consistent with who we are and with the program goals. And from there, that's when it gets really, really fun. This is where it starts to talk to your primary database, again, in the VNet that you set up. Now take a look at what happens behind the scenes with that database. This is a customer that's enabled Active Data Guard between, their high availability databases. In this case, it's a primary and a standby that they have running in a second availability zone. So they're using Active Data Guard for that block replication, but they're also using Autonomous Recovery Service for backups and restores over time as well. Now, the neat thing about that, and this is where it gets really compelling, it all gets backed up in an OCI region as well. And why that's important is that it gives customers full control over the cloud that the data is stored in for long-term storage. We're really, really excited to offer this. And one of the things that we take for granted almost as a result of the work that we've done through this partnership is that network traffic just happens seamlessly and at no cost to any of our end customers. And when I think about what are the other reasons that customers should care about this, it's integration with things that you're already familiar with, things that you're already using. In the previous example, I described Active Data Guard, absolutely, and Autonomous Recovery Service, without a doubt. But there's other things. We're very proud to have recently announced OCI Golden Gate's general availability on Azure. So these are the types of tools that you could use for your data replication needs. And of course, the partner ecosystem that we've established over decades with companies like Commvault and Dell and Veeam, and Veritas to make sure that you're still able to use the tools that you've always been using. Now, lastly, if you've been running on-prem and you need a little bit of assistance to help just get over the line, or if you want to rethink the way that you've been delivering your database and database services to your applications and the data to your end users, of course, we have our customer success services group or a customer engineering services group that you can partner with to help unblock you, to help recreate, rethink, and deliver a high fidelity experience for your customers. Now, when I talk about customers, I want to give a really, really compelling example, one that's very, very important to me. Now, this is a company called Conduent. Conduent is responsible for one of the largest US tolling systems in North America. If you're familiar with it, it is the EZPass system. Now, one of the really, really neat things about that is that it's got incredibly high security requirements. Now, think about that for a second. Of course, there's personally identifiable information like financial instruments and names and addresses. But this is the kind of system that runs across the country, different jurisdictions, meaning they have local, state, and federal laws that they have to adhere to be able to deliver this service on behalf of the end users and the jurisdictions that they represent. So it's a nuanced set of security requirements. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And they're relying, as my colleague Brandon Smith called out, on better than anticipated performance with the Oracle Database at Azure partnership. It is a really, really cool story, both in terms of how complex, how important it is, and how it's something that just happens seamlessly for a very mission critical workload here every day in North America. All right. As we think about the future, we think about how Oracle AI Database 26 AI is going to be able to transform the way that engineers and the way that end users think about application development and think about your data in the future. But why wait for the future when it's already here today? We'll start with this very, very simple query. Now, if you're looking at it as an engineer and you're like, hey, like this is the most basic, most rudimentary thing that I've ever seen, that's right. That's intentional. The goal here was to show how with just a simple query, you'll be able to both access unstructured and structured data without a ton of lines of code. Now, think about that for a second. In this example, it's about, being able to do vector search across, a blob, which is a house photo, and, a number of the structured data, the metadata that you might have about that house that you're storing in an Oracle database. Cool, right? Like, well, okay, what's super special about that? In years past, what you would have done is for unstructured data, use some sort of cloud service, and you would have to write some code that is secured and is calling those APIs, and then you're pulling down the results. And then similarly, you're writing some code that's calling an Oracle database, and you're pulling those results. You're holding that all together in some sort of transient memory. You got to think about security. You have to think about performance, and you have to think about the different sets of APIs that you're using to access all of it. Now, with a simple, almost a single line of code, you can do all of that activity and get much better results. It's much simpler, it's much cleaner, it's much safer from a security perspective, and you can be assured that the performance is going to exceed your expectations. I think this is something that can be revolutionary for a lot of engineers rethinking the way that you write and deliver your applications to your end customers. When you think about those end customers, naturally, LLMs are a part of all the things that we do nowadays, right? Like we've learned to talk to the internet and get a number of answers back. We've learned to talk to structured data or even unstructured data, and it thinks a little bit on our behalf and again gives us a little bit of a structured answer back. Well, why not be able to do the exact same thing with our autonomous AI database service, Select AI, right? The idea that you could use natural language to build a query. Now, all of the steps that would typically happen when performing a query still happen. The difference, though, with Select AI is that you get a chance to actually speak to that data. Now, think about years past, right? Like you had this report and it would show up in your inbox at, say, 8 a.m. in the morning. Then you'd look at it and be like, that's not quite right. Let me tweak it. Let me go ask for a slightly different cut of the data or a slightly different result or a different answer. So you'd have to go to someone and say, hey, can you build me a report that does this and this and this? And they'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. And they might run it on some test data and they might show you some results. And by the end of the day, you're like, okay, cool, that's it. All right, it's going to run on the data again at midnight tonight, and you'll get the answer in your inbox tomorrow morning. And that 24-hour feedback loop was if you were lucky, if you actually had access to that person and they could deliver it for you in the timeline that you would like. Well, imagine a world where you don't need any of that. Imagine a world where you could just talk to your data directly, securely, and with high performance, and know that you could get the answer that you're looking for. And if it's not, no problem. Just keep talking to it and keep asking how to refine and refine and refine to ultimately get what you're looking for. This is the world that we see with Select AI. We think that business analysts, decision makers, finance folks, and all sorts of people who relied on structured data to come to you in some form of report are going to have much easier time interacting and getting the data and the insights that you need to make big, complex decisions for your business. And when you think about longer term storage, when you think about, that pervasiveness of tools across all the things that you've been doing in your enterprise for a number of years, and one of the things that customers told us plenty was, that there are an existing set of tools, and they've implemented those tools using Apache Iceberg tables so that you can have some interoperability for your AI or your analytics that you're doing over very, very large data sets. To that extent, Oracle is very, very glad to have recently announced the new autonomous AI Lakehouse so that you get those insights from Oracle data across the AI and the analytics that you would expect are already happening with things like Databricks or Snowflake within your existing enterprise. It's a really, really cool way for customers to interact and for customers to leverage the investments in tooling and data services that they've already made with the Oracle data as well. Now, with that, again, I want to thank my colleagues at Microsoft for inviting me to speak here at Ignite 2025. I think this is one of the most important global IT partnerships for all the reasons that we talked about: the seamlessness, the flexibility, the ability to think differently with AI for your engineers and for your end users, and of course, to leverage existing investments that you've made both in the cloud and with tools that you've already deployed. I absolutely love working on this partnership with my colleagues at Azure. I hope that enthusiasm comes across very, very clearly. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really look forward to seeing you live. We'll talk soon. My name's Muneer. Thanks for listening.